What if there was a safe space for you to explore artificial intelligence? What if there was a team of friendly professionals waiting to help you examine what you can do with AI in your courses? Welcome to the world of what if.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's playground session. My name is Vini. I'm one of the senior producers here at COSI. Before we begin, I have a question. How many of you think you can spot an AI-generated image, right? So just keep that in mind, because over the next couple of minutes, we're going to test that assumption. As a media producer over the last couple of years working here at COSI, whether it's us recording videos or editing videos, I've spent some time working on these projects, and I always trust what I see, right? Whether it's a video, an audio recording, a photo. And obviously I would assume that would be the same for you. If you ever watched a video or you would see a photo or an audio recording, you would assume it happened. But today that assumption is changing. AI obviously can generate images, videos, and voices that's really hard to tell from reality. So today's session is not really about the tools of AI and how to use it, but it's really about trust. And this will be a working session. So I'm not gonna demo a software or teach you how to use something, but we're gonna ask for a little bit of participation, and we're gonna test your eye. We'll learn how AI media works. We'll see how quickly technology has been improving, discuss why this matters in higher education, and hopefully you can leave with some practical ways and skills to evaluate media more critically. So Virgil Abloh, fashion designer, creative director for Louis Vuitton and Off-White. He's just ahead of his time. He understood how technology and culture influence the way we consume media. And this quote for him really hits home sometimes, because he says, "The world moves as fast as Instagram scrolls up." And I want you to think about that for a second, because today media is being created faster than ever, and it's being consumed faster than ever. And I don't know about you, but our generation before us does not consume as much media as we do today. And now that AI can generate that content at the same speed, the challenge isn't creating media anymore, but it's evaluating it. So I wanted to do a little challenge. This is where I ask for just a little bit of participation. Just use your instincts. We're gonna vote on what we think is real or AI. And to start off, we're gonna do an image. So if you're online right now, you can just write in the chat if you think photo A or photo B is the real photo. And if you're here in the room, you can just with raising your hand. So just by a show of hands, who thinks that photo A, the one on the left, is the real photo? This is, just so you know, this is the New York Knicks won the NBA Finals. This is photos from the parade and the fans, swarming the streets of New York City. So by show of hands, who thinks that photo A is the real photo? You can tap it in the chat. And who thinks that photo B is the real photo? Okay. All right, we'll go on to the next round, and we'll come back later to reveal the answer. So we're gonna do audio right now. So I'm gonna play these audio clips twice, so just listen carefully which one sounds real, which one sounds human, and I'll test out. Let's do the first one.
Please take care. Let's have a great semester together, and I look forward to working with each of you towards the successful completion of this course. Please take care. Let's have a great semester together, and I look forward to working with each of you towards the successful completion of this course.
All right, now let's listen to audio B.
Please take care. Let's have a great semester together, and I look forward to working with each of you towards the successful completion of this course. Please take care. Let's have a great semester together, and I look forward to working with each of you towards the successful completion of this course.
All right, so a quick show of hands. Who thinks that audio A is the real audio? And again, if you're online, you can chat type it in the chat. And then who thinks that audio B is the real audio? Great. So let's move on to the next round. So round 3, we have here 2 videos. So this one sometimes gets to be the hardest, but we'll play these twice so that you can see it carefully. So this is video A. Play that one more time. All right, now let's play video B. This one doesn't have audio, but you can see what's happening here. The fisheye lens of the skateboarder. All right, so who thinks video A is the real video? Show hands or type it in the chat. And who thinks the video B is the real video? Awesome. All right, so now let's see how everyone did and kind of like just see what clues kind of gave it away. So if you voted for A being the real image, you got it right, right? So when people think of AI mistakes, immediately people think of like go to the fingers. I think that's like one tell that gives it away, and it's fair, but what I want you to do is, like not stop there. You got to go a little bit deeper. So some of the things you should always look out for is, text, the shadows, reflections, any duplicated objects, or most importantly, like anatomy. If those things obviously look off, it's pretty easy to tell. Like if you look closer on the right side of the image where the guy is holding the phone, you can see that it looks a little strange. So as media creators, as producers, context often reveals more than the details. So then moving on to the video, if you voted for B being the real one, well, that was a trick question. Both are actually fake. So the first video of Neymar, shout out Brazil. Hopefully they win the World Cup, my team. But that one was really easy to tell. There were a couple things that if you missed, like the number jersey, the number on his jersey in the back, some of the movements of the characters were pretty strange, but ultimately you gotta like play like frame by frame and pause it to notice like these mistakes. So if I were to play this, you can see and scrub through, there are moments where like his leg kind of like he has a third leg, or like the motion blur makes no sense. The physics really just don't add up. Objects changing, the background shifts, the jersey number you see, all that stuff. That's where often, the seams, start to show. So moving on to our last one, which is the AI voice. If you voted for B, which is the second one being real or correct, the first audio was the fake one. And usually like the best way to tell this is by just closing your eyes, just trying to listen to what sounds a little robotic, what sounds off, probably the breathing, the emotion, the emphasis. Those are things to always look out for when analyzing like AI audios. So, these detective skills that we just learned are pretty useful, but there's really a big problem these days, and it's that technology is improving fast. And honestly, it feels like it improves every month, and if not every week. I feel like I'll be reading a newsletter, seeing an article or a video, and I just see that the next version of this latest AI tool has been updated. So again, the challenge is that these systems keep improving and the clues are disappearing. So when I think of an AI, photo, I still picture it like this. This is back in 2023. I don't know if you ever watched this video of Harry Potter. They did like a Balenciaga version of it, and it's hilarious. If you ever just go on YouTube, look up Harry Potter Balenciaga. It's a little cringe because it's not also the best type of content, because you can see that the anatomy is off. You can see that the voiceover is like, it doesn't match the video. but it's also something to laugh about. It's like funny to see that someone created this and you spot those mistakes instantly. But fast forward to today, this is 2026, the same, creator made another version of it. Those things that we just talked about, those detective skills, so to speak, don't always work because the technology has evolved. It's becoming harder to tell the mistakes. So I would definitely recommend watching this as a funny video, but you can see the progression of how the technology has changed. And this entire media piece can be created by one person. If you look at this workflow, these 5 tools, starting from start to finish, beginning with the script, which would use ChatGPT to write that script, which most of you are aware of. And then you bring it into Claude, refine it, even make sure that it analyzes and make sure it's accurate. But here's the next step. You don't just start with the video. You create the imagery first. So bringing it into a tool like Midjourney is a very strong tool to create those images before you start the video. After that, you go into 11 Labs, which is the tool that generates, narration, voice. You can even clone your voice in 11 Labs, which is kind of gnarly. And then the last one is Higgsfield, which is the software that you would use to generate cinematic video. So you would bring in the images into Higgsfield, write your prompt, and then it can create that, cinematic look. All in all, to say that this process from start to finish, can happen, I want to say minutes, but it almost is minutes. It once required an entire team, but now only one person can do this. And honestly, this is probably the most important part of my presentation, if I'm being honest. And it's not to say that the issue isn't that AI is bad, but that AI is improving faster than our ability to detect it. And that's really the challenge here. So why should we care? So I want to kind of go beyond the topic a little bit and just talk about what it is in, beyond the classroom, and talk about what it looks like in culture these days and just overall public trust. So not sure if you're aware, but the Oscars recently released that AI actors and AI writing cannot win awards, right? And the Oscars has been a renowned, award-winning show for movies and all these stuff. But for most of history, just seeing something was enough. You can see a photo and be like, that's evidence, that's proof that happened. Or seeing a video that's like, oh, that actually was shot, or maybe it was generated, maybe CGI, but someone recorded something and it's true. But today, realistic media no longer guarantees that authenticity. So we're seeing challenges on misinformation, public trust, digital evidence, and the article just talks about how the rise of AI-generated media has been a really growing challenge of determining what is real. So I'll ask you this: if a video is no longer proof, what becomes proof? And if we talk about something a little bit more related to us in in FAU and in higher education, let's just imagine you're assigning a student a video presentation, and this may be in an online classroom. And a few years ago, that meant that the student would then have to research the topic, maybe write an outline or a script for themselves, record them, and then if they wanted, maybe edit it, put that together, and upload it for that assignment. But today, AI can assist that student in every stage of the process. The final product will look, can still look authentic, but the learning process is harder to see. So, again, my question to you is when AI can create these realistic video presentations, where do we find the learning? And how do we measure understanding in an age of AI-generated content? But there's some hope, right? I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, but it's not us versus AI, but it's AI working together. And honestly, it comes part of what I wanted to talk about today and wrap up which is our judgment. Our judgment becomes the most valuable thing that we could use in today's age. So another quote from a very well-known person, his name is Rick Rubin, and he's a very influential producer. He's worked with various artists like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Adele, Jay-Z, and his strength isn't just producing music, it's recognizing what deserves attention. And One of his, really famous quotes is, "The ability to look deeply is the root of creativity." And we understand that AI can generate content instantly in a matter of seconds, but looking deeply still requires us as humans, as people, to have that, that true eye. And again, we know that AI can generate images, video, audio, scripts, all these things, but we as people can provide creativity, empathy, storytelling, instructional judgment, ethical decision making. So an AI can generate, a lecture, or a student can generate a video presentation, but they don't know your students. They don't know the learning outcome. So like I said, AI creates the media, but we as humans, we create the meaning. The future is AI plus human judgment. And to conclude, this was said by Steve Jobs, founder of Apple. He says that technology alone is not enough. And one of the things that was big on was that technology shouldn't, take over. It should serve you. It should help you. And we know how powerful technology is these days, but the meaning that, where everything comes from us, right? Creativity, empathy, human judgment, and that helps us create these meaningful moments. So all in all, for generations, seeing was believing, right? Like I said, you would see a photo and it was evidence of that happened, or a video was proof of, or a recording was authentic. But today we kind of live in a really different world, and a world where media can be generated instantly. So perhaps, the most important skill is not just learning how to use an AI tool, but it's learning how to evaluate that information, learning how to verify before we trust. So all in all, in the age of AI, believing requires verification. And that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you everyone for joining.